Jeremiah, who wrote our first lesson, he was known as the wailing prophet. He lived in a difficult time, and he complains a lot, and he cries a lot. He complains about himself, he complains about his people, and he complains against his God. Jeremiah was in a situation where he felt he was being betrayed. And he feels like that friendly, gentle lamb that he was being led to the slaughter. Realizing this, he cries out in our lesson, "Let me see your vengeance upon them, for to you I have committed my cause." How many of you ever, just once in your lifetime, wanted to do that? Just wanted to holler out about somebody, "They did this to me." I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands, but I'm guilty of it, and I'm sure we all are at some point in time. But Jeremiah was like us. He's a sinner. And we can't judge his heart, but we can judge our own hearts. We can look at what causes anger. We can look at what makes us so upset that we feel the need to retaliate. These attacks and anger, they don't happen in isolation. They happen everywhere. They happen outside of our church. They happen in our homes, in our work. They happen inside of our church. And the only thing we can do is turn it over to God. We have to learn to pray and give God the strength and ask him to give us that strength. I want you to picture for a moment you're back in high school or college, wherever your absolutely worst exam ever was. Maybe it was seminary. And think about getting ready to walk into that room for that test. How did you feel? I remember when I took my test to become for my doctorate or my master's, it was hard. I had butterflies. This is our time in our life for a test. It's not the test results that we see in James, where it talks of quarrels and fights and passions. It isn't the test in the gospel of hearing and understanding how we receive those children sent to God. Is the test whether we'll sin? Well, we all know that answer. We will sin. We were born into sin. So we know that's not the test. We are so used to performance standards in our society. We are so used to pass and fail. Did you get your driver's license or did you not? You're either perfect or you're not. If our heart and minds were tested by Jeremiah's standards, where would we stand? Which of us could stand to see all of our deeds shown out publicly? Which of us hasn't at one time or another avoided listening to God and doing what we felt was best and not what he told us? How many of us would rather look good than let people see our quarrels and our problems? And how many of us have been too proud to be humble? The final test of our heart and our mind is talking about restraining for sinning, which we know we can't restrain from. We were born into it. The answer to the test we're at today isn't found in the wrath of God, nor is it found in making excuses for our sins. It's found in realizing that there is a sacrificial lamb that had his body broken and his blood shed so that the vengeance of God could be poured out. And instead of the wrath that is deserved, the love of God is poured out on each of us. It builds us up for the challenges we face. It cleanses our hands and it purifies our hearts. If you were back getting ready to take that big test, would you act differently if you had all the answers? Realize this, we do have all the answers. The answer to our test is God in our hearts and our minds, and is found through the wisdom that he gives to us. The lesson from James sort of goes along with this if you think about how we talk to people, how we treat other people. In the research, it said, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." Have you heard that? It's not true. Words hurt worse. I don't know if you agree, but I think words are more cutting than anything else. And repeatedly over the past weeks, if you've been here, we've heard how harmful and hurtful words can be. As I was looking and studying for the sermon today, I found something that was very interesting. In these big collegiate books off of your shelf, it said, Before you talk to somebody, is it kind? Is it needful? And is it true? I teach that to my 4th graders. You learn that in kindergarten. And the point is, are we doing that? Some of us are, and a lot of us need a little more work on it. Are we considerate of others? So we hear from James about not being hurtful. We hear from Jeremiah about personal vengeance. Perhaps Jeremiah could have used a little Mark in his life. In Mark, we need to really look at ourselves. Jesus stopped his disciples. I'm telling you, not publicly. He waited. And he looked at them and said, "What are you talking about?" Would you like that question asked of you? How many of you have got caught in a conversation when you turned around and you were like, "Oh man, probably shouldn't have had." That happened to me this week. I walked into a conversation and silence. We all smile, we've all done it, we've all been there. Could you imagine if we had to tell the nature of our daily conversations, how would they sound? His disciples were silent. They said nothing. Now, silence can be golden, but it can be an embarrassment also. Can you imagine telling Jesus, "Well, you know, we had this conversation. We just wanted to know which one of us was the best, who's the greatest." They were pretty much focused on the wrong things. They were competing and they were stepping on each other. When you were a child, think about your family situation. You had responsibilities, depending upon the size of family you had. Eventually, some of those responsibilities probably got into service-oriented things. As you became an adult, your responsibilities changed. You had children to take care of. You had jobs to be responsible for. Think about the town you grew up in. Some of you grew up here. No matter where you grew up in, I'll tell you, at least in our home, you always had an extra kid floating in and out for a meal. Or you were the extra kid floating in and out for a meal. We didn't lock our doors. We just had people in and out visiting. If you could add up all the time you spent in the past with family and friends, you were living that life of sharing your life as a servant. Nowadays, we live a long days, don't we? We're busy, and we don't have time to welcome that new person. We don't have time to welcome that neighbor or find the servant's heart. We were just even talking this morning, we're so busy that the hurricane in North Carolina is a blip on our screens compared to other hurricanes that have come through. But there does come a time in our life where we want to be the one served, don't we? We're tired of doing for everybody else, and we want somebody to do for us. We want to be accepted. We want to be loved. We want to be first. And that's where Jesus' disciples were at in the story. They've been following Jesus around for years. I mean, seriously, they fed 5,000 people, right? That's a servant. We've never done that. I don't know that I'm going to take up that charge either. But they were very hospitable. They watched Jesus heal people that the public thought should never be healed. So it's easy to get cranky. It's easy to be like the disciples. We find that we demand that people serve us. Think about today's society. The customer is always right. Or maybe we simply become resentful when we realize we're not the most important person. And then we don't watch what we say. Jesus does not tell his disciples they were wrong. He does not tell them they're out of line. He doesn't. He tells them that the one who's going to be first must be last. And the one who wants to be served must serve. And then he brings that little child in. And can you imagine seeing that little child? The person who cares as compassionately for that infant cares for Jesus. And he throws that down as a challenge. In many ways, Christ Lutheran Church is a huge family. And just like in a family, it's easy to lose patience with each other. It's easy to second guess and think you know what, that person is thinking because we've been together for a long time. And just like the disciples, we can begin to argue. And who should be first? Who is most important? Who gets the most attention? We can learn from these lessons today. We can't demand retribution. We need to think about our words and our actions. And Jesus reminds us to welcome each other, the person sitting behind you and next to you and 10 rows behind you, as a child. Just not the new people, the people you see every Sunday. And how do we do this? It says in the psalm, resuscitate me, O God, with your words. Maintain me by your strength. For the disrespectful have assaulted me. The callous seek my life. But surely God is my aid. The Lord is the guardian of my life. Amen. We'll take a moment to consider the words that we've heard this morning.